Hello, everyone. We're back with Ken Dombrowski, Executive Life Coach and Master Hypnotist, and today we're going to talk about trauma response. What are your thoughts on autism as a development?
This is going to be extremely controversial. I want to make sure everybody understands I am not a mental health professional. I'm not a therapist, psychologist, psychotherapist, none of that. I'm a life coach and hypnotist. And I deal with behavior every day, all day long, and mostly the identifying and modifying of behavior. So when we look at autism, it's a behavior. There's a behavioral problem that makes it difficult for that person to function in what we might call normal society. So we look at how did that start. A lot of doctors are going to say, well, you're born with it. Other ones, like myself, are going to say it could also be developed. I don't know. Maybe someone's born with it. Maybe another person develops it. But either way, I have had several, and I mean multiple, clients in my office with autism. And when you talk to their parents, whether it be a teenage kid or a 25, 30-year-old person, when you talk to their parents will tell you that they were a regular, normal kid up until about, and it usually seems to be 5 or 6 years old, is when something triggers, and then they became different. They became, more challenging to deal with. They became more picky, more finicky, more emotional, more volatile, all kinds of things. So that tells me that it was developed at that point. Other parents will tell you, no, my child was behaved this way since they were a toddler. Okay, then chances are that child was born with it. But now this becomes really interesting, and I'll get a lot of pushback on this, but these are absolutely my findings. Countless many times working with autistic people, when I can put them into a hypnosis, we do age regression, and I ask them in hypnosis to describe to me a time in your life where you felt the most scared, the most trauma, the most fear. That's going to tell us something. And the number one response that I've gotten many times, it's not 100% of the time, but many times, number one response, first day of school. First day of school, it was such a traumatic event. My mom was dropping me off at this place where I didn't know anyone, where she leaves, cried like crazy, did the thing holding on to mom's leg, don't go. And it just this overly huge traumatic experience, probably the first significant traumatic experience of that person or that child's life. And here's the even more interesting thing. That mom who's driving to work now, she's crying. She calls the school or the daycare, 20 minutes later and says, how's my kid doing? They were really upset when I left. If they're still crying, I'll come back and get them out. And they say, oh no, he or she's running around with the other kids laughing and having fun, no problem. Because the trauma only needed to last for a moment, and a moment might be a few seconds or a few minutes, where that mind was convinced that there is a traumatic experience going on. My mom's leaving me. I'm never going to see my family again. This is the most awful thing. And moments later, because it's a child, they're up and running around and laughing and having fun with the other kids, like nothing ever happened. But here's what happens. It did cause the scar that made the mind think it's a very scary world out there, and I need to do something to better protect myself. And that could, in fact, be the onset of autism.
Thank you so much for that insight, Ken. Comment below what you think of our controversy.